Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's a green week. Very interesting week as well. Up about 3%, about 13,000. Pretty happy with that. It's fairly broad across the market. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the news. So the digital asset report from CoinShares, we're back into quite a bit of inflow. We suddenly had sort of decent week from the ETFs, US ETFs, and yeah, sort of come to the more recent news as well. But it's sort of all US pretty much. It's all into Bitcoin. 942 million into Bitcoin in the last week. 23 million outflow out of Ethereum. I imagine that will have changed quite a bit by this coming sort of next couple of weeks. Outflow out of the multi-asset, you don't see that too often. Solana, 4.9 million inflow, that was pretty good. Litecoin and short Bitcoin up, even though Bitcoin's up, I guess. That's a little bit sort of diverging opinion. 1.9 into Cardano, that's interesting. You don't see sort of a whole lot. And 3.7 into Chainlink, you know. These are both in the double figures in assets under management. So, yeah, to have sort of that sort of inflow is pretty good. And it's not part of the multi-asset fund. So I always wonder, I haven't really dug into sort of where these funds are because you certainly don't have a US ETF on Cardano or Chainlink. But whether people have got individual ETFs just on these products, it's interesting. And country-wise, we've got sort of a fair bit of outflow from Canada and Hong Kong. So Hong Kong started with sort of about 300 million, I think, in sort of seed money basically put in there from the start, and hasn't really seen a huge amount of inflow since then. And this, I guess, is sort of part of that. They've had a bit of a selling week, and yeah, it's not looking sort of super bullish over there. People aren't jumping in. Australia, though, and Brazil still with small inflows. Germany, small inflow. And small outflow from Sweden, inflow into Switzerland, and then obviously US in sort of various products. That includes the Ethereum one and everything. Looking a little bit more in detail, so we have had sort of 10 days pretty much of decent inflows again, with no reds. So you're not seeing the big sort of outflows that we were getting from Grayscale. I don't think their ETF, the mini ETF, is actually out yet from the looks of it. Just sort of having a look at their website. It does look like Grayscale is the one that sort of is the source of all of these, or some of these other coin ETFs. From the looks of it, they have a Chainlink, Grayscale Chainlink Trust. Didn't see a Cardano one. But they have, yeah, it's a lot of altcoins, Solana one, and even a Grayscale Basic Attention Token Trust. So that's interesting. It's quite a small coin to have an ETF of. I don't think there's a huge amount in it, but there you go. But yeah, 10 days of inflows, so looking pretty good. We've had some sort of reasonable days, a triple-digit Fidelity day, and two triple-digit BlackRock days, so all looking rather good. Had some sort of reasonable ones into ARK as well. I always call them the emotional investors, but yeah, sort of average of 200 million per day. Obviously, back when Tesla bought, I think, did they buy 1.5 billion? And that was the massive sort of catalyst. Everyone got really, really excited. Bitcoin price was lower, so it takes less dollar amount to move the market as it does now, but $2 billion in the last 10 days sort of goes rather unspoken. I guess retail are sort of selling into this buying, it seems, because this hasn't sort of rocketed up the price, I wouldn't say. Last sort of week it's been relatively flat. But it hasn't been flat for Ethereum. So this was sort of very unusual move. We had the deadline for, I think it was Vanek, and then ARK the following day. the deadline for their Ethereum ETFs, and everyone was almost certain they were just going to get rejected, and it was sort of more about the language that they used in the rejection as to whether we got bullish or not. And then sort of earlier in the week, or sort of, yeah, Monday basically, everyone started coming out and saying they're hearing rumours that these were going to get approved. And come Thursday, there it is. I sort of take this as partly political and partly sort of confirmation that Larry Fink of BlackRock really does rule the whole world. He doesn't get rejected on anything, and yeah, seemed a little bit of a coincidence. There's a lot of lobbying and that sort of thing goes forward. You've also had Donald Trump, which we'll get to in a second. Yeah, all of a sudden they got approved. So you've had BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco, ARK. Can't remember if Wisdom Tree have got one. VanEck, all of them basically. I think there's 8. Grayscale Ethereum Trust, of course. So that is sort of partly the bearish side, because I don't think people are quite expecting the inflow of the Bitcoin ETFs to come into the Ethereum one. And I think they were saying Grayscale do have 10 billion of Ethereum in theirs at, I think, 2.5% as opposed to 2% of the Bitcoin one. So expecting a hell of a lot of selling from the Grayscale Ethereum one, and don't know, oh, well, you could say selling, I guess they're going to sell that one and maybe buy the BlackRock one. But there was a lot of people that were sort of just buying the Grayscale discount as well. So you were getting 50% at one point discount to the underlying Ethereum in there. So if people bought thinking the ETF would get approved eventually, maybe they were happy to wait sort of 2 months, 2 years rather. It has finally sort of been approved. So some of those people may sell out. They may have sort of never really wanted to hold Ethereum that much. They were just playing that arbitrage. So similar to the Bitcoin one, you could get people selling the Grayscale ETF and just taking the cash, not reinvesting it elsewhere. But we'll have to see. This is going to be a little way away. The 19B4 applications have been approved, and they still have to do their S1 filing document from the looks of it. So yeah, could be sort of June time, July time until these sort of finally are running, assuming they do all get approved. So I forgot the Q1 Masari reports, which are always sort of provide some good insight. These are a little bit old now. We'll have the sort of Q2 ones not until the end of July. So yeah, I thought worth having a look. Look at Solana today and maybe Bitcoin next week, because they are quite detailed. Just looking at some of sort of Solana's key metrics, revenue is up very, very sharply. I think this is a lot of meme coin trading and that sort of thing. You get a lot of sort of degenerate people trading coins. You know, they're making sort of 100% in a day. They don't really care whether they're paying sort of, you know, 0.1 cent fee or a 1 cent fee. It's all pretty cheap. But so you have seen transaction fees coming up from, you know, 0.0002 cents to 0.002 cents to 1.4 cents, you know, 917% increase in a quarter, and then 588% increase in a quarter on fees. But people will see it as, well, it's 1 cent fee. You know, we used to do Ethereum stuff for $50 fees, and even as recently as earlier this year. So they don't care. Validators is a little bit down. I think this is partly due to FTX. They actually had a lot of validators, and those are sort of being switched off. So it's not a huge issue, I guess. We don't really want FTX validators on the system. We got DeFi total value locked at 4.9 billion. That's 232% up. Very, very nice. DEX volume, again, ridiculous. You know, 39 million to 416 to 1.16 billion. Very, very nice. Daily NFT volume, not quite so impressive. It is sort of NFTs have given way for the minute to meme coins. But NFT volume, up 356% last month and another 57% this month. So very good. And total raised in the ecosystem, more sort of, I guess, VC money and sort of money being thrown at new projects. So usage, this is always the key one that a lot of people are going to look at, fundamentals, and yeah, non-vote transactions, because of course voting on protocol upgrades and that sort of thing, it doesn't really count as usage. So non-vote transactions up from sort of dropped to 24 million in Q3 and sort of had a decent recovery to 40 million and has gone to almost 70 million. So very, very solid. Average daily fee payers up to 596,000. So that's skyrocketing sort of over 3x from before. And yeah, signers up sort of 888,000. New fee payers every day, 115,000. And they are sticking around a little bit more. So you had sort of people who stay 1 month was sort of 17, 7 back to 18. That went to 29% and is now up to 31%. So almost a third of people who join are staying for 1 month or more, which is very solid. Just an interesting one on the fees there as well. You got the sort of average fee in US dollars up 588%, but the median fee is only up 190%. So that would sort of indicate that most people are still paying sort of somewhat of a cheaper fee. Obviously, it's tripled and then tripled again. But you have got some sort of whales, I guess, whether you'd call them whales or not, or just sort of degens and meme coin people, I guess, NFT people maybe, that are willing to pay a huge amount more. So that's sort of skewing the mean average upwards. But yeah, median sort of being a bit lower is good. Decentralization, I think, is always a hot topic. People are always going to see it as, if the team can switch off the entire network, then it's not decentralized. But there you go. Maybe with sort of Fire Dancer coming, the new client, at least switching off should be a thing of the past. And network growing, maybe even the team can be less of sort of an overbearing, leader of it. But there you go. Nakamoto coefficient has come down. Obviously, well, same as last quarter. But the validator hosting countries is up to 36. So you could see that as fairly decentralized. They're in 36 countries as far as the hosting goes, and hosting data centers up to 323. And a bit more ecosystem stuff. So you've got liquid staking rate is up to 5.5%. A lot of people are seeing this as a negative, really, because there's no burning in Solana like there is on Ethereum. So this does just mean inflation is sort of quite rampant. A lot of people have pointed out, if you look at the price chart of Solana to the market cap chart of Solana, they look quite different. And that is down to the inflation. And then NFT volume, it's sort of interesting to see the difference between normal NFTs being up to 7.6 million. That is the one I think we should really be focusing on at the moment. The C NFTs, which are sort of the compressed small ones, have been sort of rocketing, started at 4,000 when they were just getting going, 116 into the 400s, and now 2.3 million C compressed NFTs in Q1. But it's not quite as bullish as it seems. A hell of a lot of this is scam coins or scam NFTs. So something you were getting was people would airdrop to sort of millions of wallets a small NFT that says you're entitled to an airdrop or something, and they'll give you a website in the picture, and you have to sort of go to that, and then they'll drain your wallet or something. But you could actually burn them, because you can burn Solana NFTs and get a very small amount of Solana back, and they sort of obviously cost quite a bit to produce. So I guess the scammers were sort of thinking, return on investment, obviously how many people actually sort of go to that link versus how much it costs you to produce all of those NFTs, wasn't quite worth it. But with compressed NFTs, you can mint millions and millions of them, and yeah, you don't actually get anything back for burning them, really. Sometimes it even costs you money to burn them. So you just sit with your wallet with sort of dozens of saying you've got an airdrop of Tensor or Jupiter or whatever. So yeah, this isn't a terribly bullish metric. Hopefully there's sort of some way to clean that up. But yeah, with sort of wallets and addresses being public, people can airdrop you all sorts of stuff. Unusual to see, as you said, sort of the total amount raised in the ecosystem being up, and projects up sort of to 15, where it was sort of in the mid-single figures. But the weekly active ecosystem developers sort of continues to decline. 600 down to 400, now 385. So more projects but less developers. A little bit strange. This was good as well, sort of taking a very small amount of the stablecoin market, relatively speaking, I suppose. Although USDC is a relatively small part of the stablecoin market. So 2 billion of USDC being on Solana is quite good. Obviously USDT Tether is the big one, and a hell of a lot of that is on Tron. So yeah, Tron, sort of, as I gather, isn't used for a huge amount other than transfers of Tether and sort of gambling and that sort of thing. So yeah, Solana, if it can continue to be cheap and potentially take some more of Tether, they got 780 million. That's less than 1%, but yeah, the amount of USDC is pretty good, up 111%. Really good to see more physical stuff as well. Helium Mobile and Telefonica, the O2 Virgin Media people, I believe, partnership. That's pretty good. Mobile hotspots in Mexico. So sort of more mobile phone coverage going worldwide. Teleport as well, the sort of small, very small Uber competitor, kicked off with its first rides in Texas. Everyone in Texas seems to be sort of crypto focused these days. Hive Mapper as well now have 17% of the global road network mapped. They've launched a new dash cam, which is pretty good. Their sort of interesting use case that they're saying, people, aside from Google, like just driving around all the roads and constantly updating their maps, you can give a Hive Mapper dash cam to sort of Uber drivers and postal workers, UPS workers, or people like that, and they're sort of constantly driving the network, and they can update their maps. So you have more of a live view, not live, but sort of more up-to-date view than Google Maps, for example. So could be really interesting if that continues. So, as always, there's a huge amount of stuff in here. Can't get to it all, but yeah, I've had a good read through and looks really, really bullish. I've been weighing up over the weekend whether I sort of ditch one or two of my other altcoins to sort of just add to my Solana position. It wouldn't make a huge impact because it's sort of 100,000, and my other altcoins are sort of more 2,000 and 3,000. I did look at Cardano, to be honest, but yeah, so I haven't made that decision just yet. But yeah, everything looking pretty good for Solana. So we mentioned Trump. Not sure whether he is really going to follow through on this, but he's certainly latched onto it because he just sees it as 50 million, as he says, 50 million crypto holders, and yeah, he sees that as people that could vote for him, some of which may be sort of currently or previously Democrat voters. But yeah, what do you think to this?
I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right to self-custody to the nation's 50 million crypto holders. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency.
So there you go. Elizabeth Warren and her goons. It's quite interesting. He has already said that he would eject Gary Gensler as soon as he comes in. And yeah, people are that's just catnip to most people in crypto. The Ethereum ETF news doesn't appear to have had much of a impact on the issuance. Well, issuance is the same, but the burning hasn't really picked up. Maybe a little. I think this was 4 or 5,000 Ethereum in the last 7 days. Last week, now up to 7, but that still means 10,000 ETH up. And yeah, on the sort of 30-day and on the since the merge, it's firmly up now. Sort of a month and a half of solid increases. We sort of did have this before, not quite as steep as it is now. And yeah, unless something drastically changes, does seem to have gone sort of inflationary. I mean, not as anywhere near as bad as something like Solana. We're looking at over the last 30 days, if this were to carry on, 0.5% a year of inflation. So it's not horrendous, but it is inflation, and people were sort of calling this one of the big things for Ethereum is that it's gone deflationary, which, yeah, since the merge, it has, 0.2% deflation per year, but unless it drops down again, we are looking short term. I would agree, you got to say that, but yeah, it's a month and a half now, and it's pretty steep, and you've got more sort of layer twos coming into prominence, like base. But the Ethereum news has obviously done wonders for the price. I think this had sort of got to a very depressed level, and as I say, people were just sort of talking about what the reasons for the ETF rejection would be. So to suddenly get it approved was just complete 180 and has gone from 0.045 Bitcoin to Ethereum ratio to 0.055. Obviously on the longer term, it's sort of it's a huge green set of candles, but it does really just bring it back to where it was in sort of January, February time. But yeah, whether that is the end, we don't know. We've had sort of big drops into here before and sort of rises up in 2022. Admittedly, this has been going on for a long, long while, but it just did carry on. And sort of on my giant wedge, whether it's even relevant anymore, it's sort of almost back into the the end of the wedge point. But yeah, I don't think this wedge sort of is really relevant anymore. But yeah, it's certainly doing well. I don't think I'd be swapping my Bitcoin into ETH after all, though. So, looking at coins for the week, it's never been more than a mixed bag. Bitcoin is up 2.8%. Solana is down, almost 5%. Ethereum, obviously, one of the outperformers for the week, 22% up off the back of that ETF news. Chainlink having quite a good week, nearly 6% up. Cardano, 3.4% down. I am sort of trying to look into more metrics on Cardano to see if anything is positively coming, because there is sort of £7,500 that I could be potentially putting into something a bit more bullish. You can't just sit there and leave it and say the future is looking marvellous. XRP, 3.3% up. Gala 3% down, Power Ledger 2% down, Audius 30% up. I haven't seen any news to back this up. I did have a quick look and sort of didn't see anything particularly that should have moved that up. Matic 3% up, Internet Computer 6% down, Quant 4% down, Basic Attention Token 1.5% up, and VeChain flat. So, as I say, very, very mixed bag. Some maybe reacting off other coins, off the Ethereum news, or just sort of doing their own thing. So that's not so bad, I guess. You don't want them all to move as one. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, what do you think of the ETF news? What do you think of Donald Trump? And like and subscribe. See you soon.